extensive research and analysis of some sort of him and his life and his perspective at that time. What did you find in your research that maybe you didn't know about him and his life and the things that he did and was trying to do?
We have reduced in our culture to some extent W.E.B. Du Bois to some sound bites. The talented 10th, his argumentative position with Marcus Garvey or Booker T. Washington. What you will find in this film is he's a much more expansive person, and I had to expand with him. And what I found was he was a rebel because he transcended the zeitgeist of his time. His time put a structure and gave him limits, and he burst through all those limits to become one of the most well-traveled men in the world, not black men. But his ability to go to Berlin, to go to London, to go to Paris at a time when people, black or white, really didn't go out of their towns, it enlarged him. And he became the sharpest knife in the drawer. And so I had to not be intimidated by that, but to learn as I was going. And I chased the story through reading, through talking to people, until that story started to chase me. And then I could hear him and feel him. And I think that's what we do when we get to our truth and our history. I mean, we come from across the water. We have a traveling and a knowledgeable spirit that comes from a place that we won't tap into if we stay on the surface of sound bites, if we stay on the surface of saying they're taking my history. Nobody's taking your history nobody stops you from reading. We're not back where people dug holes and read inside the holes because they weren't supposed to read. We can do this. And I think we take the agency as a people to learn more about ourselves rather than less.
Most definitely. And when you talk about, and you made the statement about, him being reduced to a soundbite, as so many of our scholars and people have done over the years. With him, like he was edge-fixed, but you hear more about the Jubilee Singers as opposed to his contributions and everything, and you spoke about how we control our history to learn. We have the power to read. We got more information than ever before.
Absolutely.
So with that being the case, how do you feel that, today's society could institute him more into learning and his impact?
I'm glad you asked that. I think that the impact of W.E.B. Du Bois is so expansive. If you look at this time now, he first believed in war. He changed his opinion and was totally against it. We're in a war right now. Read about where he is and what his thoughts are so that you can formulate a posture with which you can stand up in this society. And that's what he did. He had his ability to work with his intellect, but also he was a human being. He made what we would call mistakes. And people judge a lot of our icons on their worst day, as opposed to judging them or at least expanding their minds to understand he was a human being. He made choices just like you, and that you can make choices for your people. But one thing that he did was he lived beyond himself and dedicated his life first to the betterment of African Americans. Then he brought that to Pan-Africanism when black people in small towns were just thinking about eating. He was teaching them about where they came from. And he was connecting those dots all over the world until he looked at caste and decided that he had to bring in people from other countries, anybody who was disenfranchised. So we need to expand ourselves just by reading, learning, and watching.